President Trump is waging a three-front war for the future of our republic. Now, the media will tell you these fronts are unrelated, but the media was captured long ago and is on the other side. First, the president is escalating the war against Iran and has notified Congress he will finish the job. And he means something very different by the job than the neocons, Tucker Carlson, or the media will ever tell you. Last week, he began dismantling the vote-rigging machinery the Democrats, the media, and our intelligence community built. His administration has now gone to war to secure our elections ahead of the November midterms. And Vice President J.D. Vance keeps telling the country that Trump is rebuilding the country like Alexander Hamilton would. The former Republican idol, Milton Friedman, is out of the picture.
The president has already completely reoriented the conversation towards what you might call an American developmentalist approach. American economic policy on the right is now much more Alexander Hamilton than it is Milton Friedman.
Vance has now joined Trump as a target of the massive psyops being run by the Democrats, establishment Republicans, and the media. I'm Barbara Boyd. Since the 1970s, I've studied the 250-year war between the United States and the globalist British Empire. Under Joe Biden, I feared the globalists had finally reconquered us. Now I know we can take our country back, but we have to learn the special type of courage President Trump is exhibiting now to do it. Today, I'm covering the real job in the Iran war, the purge of the election riggers, and the reasons for the rampant attacks on Vice President Vance. We do need your help to fight this war, so hit that like button when you can and share this video. CENTCOM announced Sunday that 3 more Americans have been killed in the resumed combat. Like buzzards, the fake news zoomed in to appropriate these heroes. They called their sacrifice pointless. The thick propaganda ignores the grand strategy shaping this war, along with entire chapters of American and world history, which are being changed for the better by our warriors right now. Currently, the operation centers on ending Iran's ability to threaten the world economy by threatening oil and gas transport through the Strait of Hormuz. Energy Secretary Wright made the purpose very clear yesterday.
We did a pause to try to get an agreement with the Iranian people to allow oil to flow without them attacking it. They've proven unwilling to do that, and we've pivoted. Now what we're doing is assuring that oil and gas and other products can flow through the Strait of Hormuz with or without Iranian cooperation.
CENTCOM's latest statement says the same thing. CENTCOM began conducting a new wave of strikes against Iran at 7 p.m. ET today for the 9th consecutive night. The strikes will continue degrading Iranian military capabilities used to attack commercial vessels and civilian mariners transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's threat to this vital energy checkpoint has existed for decades, and the globalist elites have exploited it as an economic weapon against the world, including the United States. Most Americans don't realize that the Middle East has been a zone of British-controlled resource war since 1908, when oil was discovered in Iran. By 1979, America had 2 pillars protecting our access to 2/3 of the world's supply. Those pillars were Iran and Israel. When the Iranian Revolution hit in 1979, only one nation profited, the UK. Coincidentally, they would have you believe, UK North Oil Sea exploitation took off at the very moment, generating massive profits while the rest of the world, including our country, absorbed a devastating economic shock. The British cultivated the Iranian revolutions and kept arming them. The IRGC rewarded the City of London with massive real estate and other investments. American forces have patrolled the Middle East in the tens of thousands since 1987-88, protecting tankers from Iranian attack in the Strait. And Iran's ability to disrupt oil and gas flows threatens the existence of nations whose supply chains we depend on, including India and much of Asia. Not to mention that Biden's energy policies were designed to put us right back in that same oil and gas dependent position. Add Iran's pursuit of a nuclear weapon, and you have the formula for Armageddon. Trump's national security strategy lays out a dramatic shift away from a military focus on the Middle East. Here's what it says about the area. As this administration rescinds or eases restrictive energy policies and American energy production ramps up, America's historic reason for focusing on the Middle East will recede. Instead, the region will increasingly become a source and destination of international investment and in industries well beyond oil and gas, including nuclear energy, AI, and defense technologies. That's a complete break from the globalist order which still flourished during the Biden years. Donald Trump wants advanced energy not just to grow our economy, he wants to build real sovereign trading partners for our future goods and services. That requires long-term security for the Gulf states who are now already investing their billions in our country. Iran's terrorism prevents that security. This has been Trump's strategy since his first term, if you know his Abraham Accords. Just read his development plan for Gaza in this document. I can guarantee you that neither Tucker Carlson or Zoran Mandami have ever read it. Now, to the second front. But before we go there, please subscribe to our free newsletter at PrometheanAction.com. You'll get a whole lot more of this analysis there. Now, since Thursday night's speech on election integrity, the media has tied itself in knots, either censoring it or disputing what it revealed. Some of the president's friends called it a nothing burger. They just don't get what the president is doing. I like this post on X from Clandestine at War Clandestine. How do you tell 350 million Americans that our politicians sold us out to foreign adversaries in order to cover up their vast criminality? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. This is going to be a methodical process, not a Band-Aid rip. Patience. The president wasn't addressing people like me. I can tell you all about the coup that ran from 2015 to 2024. It has now been proved in declassifications from Tulsi Gabbard, Senators Grassley and Johnson, and in Molly Hemingway's book on the rigged 2020 elections. Most people didn't follow the whole thing or just imbibed the poisonous headlines. If they did follow it, the scope of this British-instigated coup terrified many of them. Even former FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, who followed it closely, said what he found in Hindenburg bags at the FBI shocked him to his core.
Folks, there was an organized internal government effort between intelligence community actors, law enforcement actors, DNI actors to just destroy President Trump completely by whatever means necessary. During my tenure here as your deputy, I've relayed to you things that are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. What I've learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core.
That's why Trump standing up after being shot and mouthing fight, fight, fight dictated the result of the 2024 election. A real and special form of courage overcame paralyzing fear, and people saw it. On Thursday, Trump didn't relitigate any of that. His target is disengaged midterm voters, pessimistic members of his own coalition, and persuadable people on the other side ahead of the midterms. He's running a live-fire drama about protecting the most sacred right of this republic, the right to vote and to have that vote count. Thursday and Friday, the president and DHS Secretary Mueller laid out the nation's vulnerabilities. They weren't relitigating 2020. China holds 220 million U.S. voting files, enough to duplicate ballots, and intended to do exactly that in 2020. FBI agent Nikki Flores admitted running a shadow government inside the FBI to hide this from the president. The CIA, quote, massaged it out of the president's daily brief. Even under Biden, CISA admitted our vote tabulation systems are wide open to hacking. When a Muskegon, Michigan clerk found thousands of fraudulent absentee applications, the FBI blocked the investigation over the objections of its own local agent. There are 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote in just 4 states and 400,000 dead people on the rolls. Trump is inviting states to help clean this up before the midterms, and the administration will be conducting an open fight for this. States that don't cooperate won't be reimbursed for elections. The post office is in the courts right now saying it won't mail ballots in states with dirty voter rolls. Other things are in the works, and the revelations will keep coming. Now let's talk about Alexander Hamilton, J.D. Vance, and Donald Trump. When J.D. Vance went on a tour promoting his book about Christianity, its relation to his policies, and to the Hamiltonian nature of the Trump economic revolution, it threw the already bubbling Psy war against the young vice president into overdrive. You've probably seen a lot of it on social media. You can't miss it. But the biggest deal was Vance dismissing Milton Friedman in favor of Alexander Hamilton's economics. Milton Friedman was the American spokesman for a group of economists wedded to Europe's oldest oligarchs. In 1947, they formed a club called the Mount Pelerin Society. It included George Soros' mentor, Karl Popper, and Friedrich von Hayek. The goal was to attack the American system policies which had won World War II, institute a horrible form of capitalism in its place, and destroy the nation-state. Trump and Vance are returning to Hamilton's American system because it is an economics which honors the supreme role of creative human labor in building sustained economic progress. It celebrates the dignity of human beings first and foremost. The enemy knows that J.D. Vance can recruit our young people away from the Marxist destroyers and the soulless culture which has been foisted on them. They also know that Vance and Rubio are friends on a joint mission. But neither is yet like Trump, who is unique and exceptional. The great German military theorist Karl Clausewitz called Trump's special form of courage and determination Entschlossenheit. It is a habitual determination to act, and most often act correctly, without knowing all the facts. Wars present exactly that kind of unpredictability. It freezes those unwilling to accept the awful responsibility for human suffering and death if command decisions are wrong. It comes from a lifetime of such decisions by Trump, now honed by the coup against him and facing a lifetime in jail or death from an assassin. It abhors victimhood and littleness. If we're going to win, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and many of us must find that kind of talent and toughness in ourselves. Again, we need to grow here at Promethean Action and to expand these briefings. If you haven't already, become a subscriber to our newsletter. If you can contribute more funds, please do so now. This has been your Monday Update. Thanks for listening.
Please take a moment and subscribe to our free newsletter at prometheanaction.com.